Welcome to this bonus episode of 80s TV Ladies. I'm Susan+lambert+hatem.
And I'm Sharon+johnson. Welcome to the second of our two-part fun crossover episodes with the Breaking Mayberry podcast.
Now, Breaking Mayberry podcast calls themselves two idiots and their much more intelligent guests take on classic TV, mostly the Andy Griffith Show, to see the weird messages they broadcast into American homes and assess what holds up and what caused permanent damage to the psyche of an entire generation. It's a very funny podcast. I will say it is a very explicit podcast, so be warned if you go listen, but also it is very fun. They cover everything from the Andy Griffith Show to I think they're currently doing Glee. So it's Marty Schneider and Dan Ludwig, and we are very excited to do this crossover episode. You can go listen to the first part on their podcast, Breaking Mayberry, and then come listen to the second part on ours. The episodes that we cover are season 2, episode 1, and season 2, episode 2. So though they are somewhat related, you don't have to know one to listen to the other. So I think they are not idiots at all. They're actually quite hilarious and really fun. And we've had a great time doing this. So please welcome Marty Schneider and Dan Ludwig.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marty Schneider with my colleague, Dan Ludwig. We are the hosts of a podcast called Breaking Mayberry, which you can get wherever you get your pods. Breaking Mayberry is a show about nostalgia and television, exploring kind of the impact that TV has on generations. It started as a show specifically about the Andy Griffith Show, but since then we've branched out and expanded to more of a variety show model to do whatever comes to our minds or whatever's requested of us, but really exploring big trends and shows that made impacts on generations. And I don't know the timing of our release schedule on this, but I believe that when this comes out, we'll be in the middle of a chock block of Glee. We're going to go from the 60s all the way up to the Obama years, just really fast. Going to get whiplash on it. Tonal whiplash, if you will. So that's what we're working on.
Now, is there a lot of comparisons between the 60s and the 90s? Like just generationally?
So from doing Glee, I think we were the thing that
which is not the 90s, got to clear that up.
But like do you mean like the 90s, the generation of 90s babies kind of?
Yeah,
the people born in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, at least like when Glee came out, the thing we kind of noticed was like this just sort of unrelenting like sort of optimism to it. Yeah. Just like things are automatically going to get better, so we don't have to try that hard. The future is guaranteed. We're like, oh, you kids don't know what you're in for.
Oh, you summer children.
I think that also does relate a lot to really more the 50s than the 60s, but that like post-war, like we're doing better than ever. America is doing just fine and doesn't have anything to deal with right now.
This line is going up, and I'm assuming it's going to continue that way indefinitely.
So we're going back to a little television show called Bewitched, which was what I like to call a witchcom, a witch-led sitcom that aired 8 seasons on ABC from 1964 to 1972, about a witch who marries an ordinary man, Darrin Stevens, and decides she's going to live as a typical suburban housewife and tamp down her special skills, except, of course, she uses them every episode.
Bewitched starred Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha Stevens, the witch as referenced in our title. And her husband, Darrin Stevens, was initially played by Dick York, and after several seasons was replaced by Dick Sargent. Also, Agnes Moorehead played her mother, Endora, and there were several other actors who had recurring roles as other members of her family. So it was part of a time when there seemed to be a number of TV shows that had kind of a magical component. My Mother the Car, I Dream of Jeannie, et cetera. But in a lot of ways, I think this one was probably at the top, if not close to it.
Yeah, I remember it being really sweet and lovely, and you can hear us talk about some of that on on Breaking Mayberry in part 1, where we talk about some of the other sort of magical, what'd you call them? Magical
I call them
women?
I call them secret sexy ladies, secret sexy magic ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a whole
My wife is magic and nobody can find out.
Yeah. So that was a whole subgenre. You named 3 of them. The 4th one, I think, is My Living Doll, which is about Julie Newmar playing a sexy robot. Why is the robot a sexy woman? Don't ask.
And then guys come up and they want to kiss the hot robot, but they can't because they'll get electrocuted to death. So it's mostly just a guy trying to stop that from happening.
Wow, that one's pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Somehow they got multiple seasons out of that premise.
Not the best of that genre, but I'll say my personal favorite of that genre.
Marty has also watched all of My Mother the Car, inexplicably, against everybody's advice.
And you guys,
That's impressive.
Have you talked about My Mother the Car?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was a Patreon episode for us. But yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm excited to hear about that. But I'm fascinated by. I was always fascinated by Bewitched. I liked it. I watched it. I didn't have a huge memory of it because I was probably pretty young, but certainly you can sort of take some lines to Charmed, to Witches of East End, to Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, in sort of these wacky witchuation comedies that happen.
Mm-hmm.
There it was. The witchuation comedy is good. I like that a lot.
That one landed.
Okay, thanks. I keep throwing them against the wall, see what sticks.
I'm gonna give you this feedback. Keep going. Don't slow down. It's working. Keep doing them.
All right. But so we were looking, how did we land on Bewitched? I was excited about it because female driven. And we wanted to cover something in the 60s. So it's a little bit in your territory. Do you guys, what was your knowledge of Bewitched before it came up on our radar when what are we going to talk about?
I had insomnia as a kid, so I would stay up and watch a lot of Nick at Night. And this was sort of like the good part of the rotation. This was a lot of the black and white TV was kind of just white noise to me. But Bewitched would come and be like, I get this premise. This is working. The mother-in-law is very mean and also magic. This is the good part. And also we did a little bit of I Dream of Jeannie. So we got very acquainted with the magic wife premise. So this was like, all right, let's do the good version of that.
Me personally, I knew very little. I knew almost nothing about Bewitched other side of the general premise. But when I said that we were going to do that, my wife got very excited.
So she knew it.
She knew it. She knew it. I think that was also her Nick at Night, her and Grandma's show. I think that was the one that they would like watch and she enjoyed. So she was very, very excited and gave me backstory on a lot of these characters, which was appreciated, but not wholly necessary for the 2 episodes we were doing.
And I think we managed to find some pretty great episodes. So
yes.
The episode we're talking about today is season 2, episode 2, A Very Special Delivery. Mm-hmm. It aired September 23rd, 1965. And it was basically the beginning of season 2 is where Samantha basically announces that she's pregnant. And then in this episode, why don't we head into it?
Just to check, what year did this episode come out?
It came out in 1965.
That feels like a miracle that they did this premise in the 60s, especially compared to what we've been watching, the Andy Griffith Show, where notably they had an episode about how difficult childbirth is that did not have a single woman in it. So like it was just mind-boggling that they did this premise.
Dare I ask how what the story was about?
Okay, if I remember right, they are following Andy and Barney are following a farmer around because this was actually very funny for the 60s. Barney suspects him of growing marijuana. They never say marijuana, but so they're following this farmer who is way out on the edge of town, and he comes into town and buys weird supplies like, hoses and blankets, or, boil, like big pots to boil water or something. So they follow him, and they find out that the reason why he's been acting so nervous and edgy is his wife is giving birth right now. So cut to commercial. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to go help with this delivery. Cut to commercial. And boy, that sure was a great delivery that you did there, Barney.
Yeah.
They love to do that. They love to do that on that show. I think that's the
monologue
plot.
from the father about like, man, I'm so stressed out. This is so difficult for me that my wife is giving birth. Does anybody want to hear about how this is impacting my interior life? And they're like, so much. And then they give birth, and they're all just out for like, how are you doing, father? About the whole birth. Are you cool? You doing good? Be like, yeah, I'm holding up. And then the episode's over. And it took us so long to realize that they had not shown a woman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also want to say about this particular episode, so much of this episode is guys making assumptions about how pregnancy works. And I do appreciate that for this episode, you brought on Dan and I, two childless men, to also make wild assumptions about the accuracy of this depiction of pregnancy.
I mean, we learned a lot when you were on our show, particularly how tampons used to work back in the day. So I'm excited for what I'm going to find out now.
You can listen to that one on Breaking Mayberry. All right, I'm done with my plug. Let's continue.
Yeah.
No. So go over to Breaking Mayberry. We talk about alias Darren Stevens, where Darren gets turned into a chimp, and by accident, and this time Darren is affected by magic on purpose. So a little bit about the episode. Darren has learned in the first episode of season 2 that Samantha's going to have a baby, and he's going to be a father. And his first instinct is to kind of wait on Samantha hand and foot and make sure she's okay. And then, and do everything for her. So she doesn't hurt herself. And then Larry Tate, his boss at work, convinces him that basically women should never be treated like that. That they
love it. They love to work really hard during their pregnancy. It's their favorite thing.
And it's better for her and the baby. So,
well, didn't he couch it more in terms of that his wife, when she was pregnant, took advantage of her pregnancy to get him to or be treated better or whatever, or waited upon?
It's gross. Yeah, he says something to the effect of like, if you let them, women will make being pregnant an occupation,
a career,
which on the surface is gross, but also really smacks of like Reagan era welfare queen kind of nonsense.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. Right when Eudora, her mom, shows up, who doesn't like Darren, basically shows up and finds out that she's going to be a grandmother. Darren proves himself to be a kind of a jerk about it. And she basically curses him to have the symptoms of pregnancy, and thus chaos ensues. So Darren has to have, labor pains, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay. But so let's go to the beginning of this episode, because I'm so excited. So season 1 and season 2, I was sort of fascinated by, the technology of television as well. Season 1 and season 2 were both black and white when they originally aired. And I think I saw a colorized version was what I was able to find. Are there black and white versions of these?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a website called Internet
Archive. The whole series is available for free on Internet Archive.
Yeah, and it's black and white, at least season 1, season 2. I didn't get any further than that, but it's absolutely in the original black and white.
I feel like that
I watched the recolored version.
Yeah, I feel like that would be better, because I think I would prefer to not know Endora's color scheme.
Disagree.
Totally disagree.
Really?
I'm with Martin here. I'm with Martin.
Because
I feel like she would have more of an air of mystery in black and white, not knowing that she was green and purple.
I absolutely loved those Lex Luthor colors. I loved that they chose to just scream like, we are in color now. Look how we can do with Technicolor. Look how bright this is. And it also helps serve to separate her from like normal mortal life. That's her whole motivation, is she doesn't want her daughter to tamp herself down. She doesn't want her daughter to be a normal, boring mortal. She says, we're witches, we're big, we're bold, we're magic. I'm going to stand out as much as possible. So I absolutely love most of the time I as a purist, I'm kind of against colorizing things that were originally black and white. But if you're going to do that, I really like that they went big with this because it fits the character.
See, what the color scheme is saying to me is that she has to go fight Batman right after this episode.
I think she might have. I wouldn't be.
Great crossover. Great crossover.
That would actually be so good.
I honestly, like, let me just control F guess. I'm sure Adam West appeared on here some point, right? Like, there had to have been a crossover.
That is so funny. And listen, Endora is such a great character, and I love that. I love that this episode has her in it. And I also love that it has a little Larry Tate, because I remember not liking Larry Tate from childhood, but not quite knowing why. And after this episode, I know why.
Now you know why.
But the look of this show is so incredible to me. And now Mayberry didn't ever get colorized.
No, it certainly did.
Yeah.
But a sharp drop off in quality that is universally loathed by everybody that liked the show. Because it also coincided with Don Knotts leaving, and just a huge tonal shift in the show. And, the whole thing is very reliant on this kind of like Norman Rockwell. Is it the Great Depression or is it the 60s? And that was really reliant on it being in black and white, and color just shatters that illusion.
Yeah. The show becomes very different after that. The show becomes a little bit more obsessed with the idea of television. They leave Mayberry to go to Hollywood for a few episodes. So it becomes so it's just honestly a completely different show, which has contributed to why Dan and I are trying to talk about anything else.
Why we're doing Glee right now.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some line between Andy Griffith's show and Glee. Did he appear on Glee, Ron?
Would Ron Howard have ever appeared on Glee? No.
I mean, pretty much every person guested on that show at some point, but probably Ron Howard was a little too outside for them.
If I may, someone asked earlier, did Adam West appear on Bewitched? Yes, he did.
Yes! Was he a wizard?
Season 1, episode 13. He played a character named Kermit. I'm just skimming through the description. He was not a warlock. He was a But for those who want to look for it, it's season 1, episode 13, and it is called Love is Blind.
Okay.
All right.
I don't understand how you have Adam West on your show about witches and warlocks and he's not magic, but okay. I guess that's why I don't work in television.
I took a big swing on that, and I'm so happy it paid off.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I'm very impressed by that. Here's the thing. I just want to talk a little bit about their house. All right. So we start off, we're in the bedroom, right? We're in the bedroom, and even though we never see them in bed together, right? As far as I know, I haven't watched the whole series, but in this episode, I don't think they're in bed together.
Wait a minute. They are actually.
At the end?
No, a couple of times he's on his side of the bed, her side of the bed faces, or maybe it's another episode, but anyway, faces the camera. If you face the bed, he's on the left, she's on the right. He's facing the other way, she's facing the camera, but they are in the same bed. It's clearly not double, two twin beds or something.
Well, I'm thinking of the Dick Van Dyke show where it was so clear they weren't allowed to be in bed together.
Right. That was still a thing at that point with Dick Van Dyke.
I think this is a you're both right situation. I think that like they're in the bed together. But if I remember right, just from this episode, she's in the bed and he's standing next to the bed by her, bent over, serving her something. I don't think there's any clips of them both laying down in bed together. It's always one is in the bed and one is next to the bed, or one is around. So I think this is a case of you're both right, of course, just for the terms of this episode. I could also be making this up entirely.
No. I think my apologies, because this afternoon before this, I watched both this episode of Very Special Delivery, and I watched an episode from the first season where I won't get into all the details. And I think that's where I saw them in bed together. So my apologies.
But this is like 64 versus like, so Dick Van Dyke Show, which I also watched. That's the other sort of, I would say male female situation comedy that I absorbed a lot of this time period. And they were in separate twin beds, right?
You are currently wearing a Mary Tyler Moore t-shirt. So.
Yes, exactly. And but this one, they clearly share a bed, and I'm just like, that's so feels like, whoa, something changed.
Well, listen, we know that they can make a baby, so.
One of the things, so one of my quotes about the Dick Van Dyke Show I like from Dick Van Dyke was, it was really important for him to kind of break the mold by having the husband and wife actually seem like attracted to each other and have a sense of intimacy, which I guess was like off the table up until this point. Like, the most you can do is a firm handshake, maybe eye contact once an episode. Otherwise the censors will get in here. And this really feels like in that like tradition, like it feels like it does. I do like that, like bed, whether or not they're in a bed together, it does feel like these two people are actually like attracted to each other, and they do have like a physical relationship.
And intimate. It feels like a marriage.
Yes.
That's what I think we're getting at. These feel like two married people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so that's nice. And he's being all like, I got to take care of you. And he is being a little bit smothering, I will say. He's like, oh my God, don't move. You're going to die. You know, like, but she's like, I've got it, Darren. I'm fine.
It's frequently pointed out, like, Darren, you will collapse from exhaustion if you continue going at this rate for the entire pregnancy.
Yeah, at this point, he's known of her pregnancy for like 2 or 3 days. They haven't even told her mom yet. And he's got like 8 months to go.
Yeah.
It seems to be an indication, though, of the general lack of awareness that men then, and probably now to a large extent, have about what pregnancy is and how it affects women. Because, you know, he's, as we talked about earlier, Larry's able to convince him to change his behavior of hovering over her the whole time. And even during, as we talk about the symptoms that he has, it's all very, very much from a male perspective about what pregnancy is.
Right.
And I say this as someone who has not been pregnant. However, I feel like I know a little bit more about what it would be than certainly those two men did back in 1965.
Right. Especially, and up to and including the man who wrote this episode. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to remember that this episode is written by a man who I think was like, I heard they like pickles.
Yeah.
I heard they want pickles.
Well, and it's very broad strokes when we get to the symptoms of pregnancy, right?
There is an early joke about the symptoms of pregnancy I want to reference. I want to make sure we talk about, and that is in this scene in the front. In the first scene, Samantha says, "Listen, I'm feeling really good. I don't have morning sickness. I'm not hurting. I feel." Also, she's only been pregnant. She's like maybe 6 weeks pregnant. Very early. But she says, "I feel good. I'm not having any symptoms." And then she looks down at her body and says, well, maybe one symptom. And she pats her belly to indicate that's the symptom, that it's the belly. But I'll just straight up say it. Since she's wearing a very baggy maternity thing, I swear, until she patted her belly to indicate it, I thought that was a joke about her boobs. I thought she was I thought she was saying, well, okay, I've got one symptom. My boobs are huge now. Because you can't see the baby bump, because
It's very flowy. Her outfit is all flowy
So
and
she
nightgowning.
she has to pat her stomach to make sure you understand that's what the joke is. I'd like to think that maybe the joke was originally about her breasts, and then Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yeah, you would like to think that,
to
Marty.
think that, sir. But then maybe Elizabeth Montgomery or somebody on set was like, "This is about the belly, right?"
Well, I will say she was pregnant in real life when they first started shooting this season, and when I watched the previous episode, I actually thought she looked like she had a little bit of a baby bump there. There were a couple of places where I'm like, is she pregnant? Is that what's going on? And, did they write that in the next episode?
They did.
Yeah, they did indeed.
The impression I was under was that you couldn't show a woman being pregnant on TV. Like, it was a censorship thing, because they were like, if you show that a woman has been pregnant, then you show that she has had sex, and that is profane. So I was like, maybe that's why the robe had to be so flowy. But from my understanding of censorship at the time, they wouldn't even let this on camera.
I think in this case, it wasn't that so much as she was much further along in her personal pregnancy than she would have been in the show. So they were trying to hide that she was, this is my impression, that she was actually pregnant.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other. Because remember, Lucy had little Ricky back on the I Love Lucy show back in the mid-50s. So they had kind of already broken that glass ceiling or pregnancy ceiling, whatever you want to call it back then.
Broken that water.
Nice. There you go.
Nice.
See, Susan.
Nice.
You're on a hot streak.
I think we observed before, and it was still in the same. In the credits, it says something like Miss Montgomery's wardrobe is provided by Tyler Maternities or something like this. So this entire episode, both these episodes are a great ad for that maternity clothing episode or brand, because she looks great. Like, it's a lovely nightgown.
She looks gorgeous. She looks so beautiful in this show. Like, I'd forgotten sort of how beautiful she is and how sort of sparkly and very young Mary Tyler Moore. There's elements of that and just sort of her sort of joyousness. I mean, they're both actually quite adorable, I think, in this episode. But she looked great, and her outfit looked great. And but I will say that the little tiny apron that she was given for an anniversary gift does not make an appearance when she's in the kitchen. I was really hoping that Darren would put it on.
That would have been so much better of a joke.
Follow-up. That would have been such a good follow-up.
I'd like to think that one of the writers may have suggested it, but somewhere somebody went, no, we're not doing that.
It's too much.
I do like that Darren is on the submissive side. Like, he's not like a very like, it's my way or the highway. He's very like doting and like a little like he's kind of like beta in a way that I wouldn't expect to see on TV at this time period. Like, you just assume that all like the husband is always going to be like, let me tell you what's going on. I'm in charge of this household. Instead, he's like,
it's the obvious comparison we're going to make constantly is to I Dream of Jeannie. And I Dream of Jeannie is always about Tony trying to assert himself, trying to assert his dominance in a relationship where he is not the dominant one at all. And Jeannie kind of lets him think that, and then, every episode proves him wrong. Darren is super comfortable in himself. Darren knows he's not the powerful one because he's like, I married a witch, until an older, more successful man comes into the picture and tells him how he should behave. Because it's kind of like Larry Tate is, for lack of a better term, his father figure in this.
Yes.
So it's kind of like his dad comes in and says, "Oh, don't let your woman treat you like that, son." And then it causes a little behavioral shift for him that is out of character, and then he gets his comeuppance. So I don't know. It's nice to see a dude that loves his wife.
It is so yes. I want to point out that at this point she was married to her third husband, William Asher, who was the producer director on Bewitched. And so he's, I don't know, I didn't look to see if he directed this actual episode, but he's overseeing the show at this point. And so it's very interesting that, I mean, she's pregnant with his child, right? Like at this point. So it's an interesting sort of, when you think about that, what, you know.
So you got Asher just off stage, just off set going, be nice to her.
As it happens, he did direct this episode.
Okay.
All right.
So anyway, I think it's so charming. Darren is very charming in this episode, and he's trying really hard, too hard. But then Larry Tate. Oh my God, can we talk now? We can really get into the Larry Tate it all.
Let's get into
Yes, please.
I want to say
that monologue has a lot to unpack.
I do want to say one thing about Asher before we go on. Since Susan brought that up, that is very interesting to me, that this is an episode about a man overprotecting his pregnant husband. And behind the scenes, you have a man who is watching over the work of his pregnant wife. I think I said pregnant husband earlier.
You did. I was trying to unpack
that. Fair mistake in this context.
Fair mistake in this context because of what the episode's about. It's about a man protecting his pregnant wife. And in the background, there is a man actually protecting his pregnant wife, because Elizabeth Montgomery is not the driving force in this episode. She doesn't do a ton in this episode. She was probably not working a lot that week because her director husband didn't want her to work that hard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. That is very interesting. Now I feel like I want to watch the next few episodes and see if that continues for a while. If they're like, okay, we got to give her some time. And she's like,
or if the next director comes in and is like, let's get this woman to work. We're paying her. Get her on her feet.
The next episode is directed by Larry Tate? What? All right.
So the Larry Tate scene. Oh my God. So Larry Tate is such an ass. And I've said that. I shouldn't say that. But he really is. Yeah. I was surprised at how forcefully you're going to make a career out of it.
So this is Darren's boss.
This is Darren's boss.
Darren goes to work and he talks to his boss, and his boss basically says, what are you doing caring for a woman?
But there's like this weird peppering of bragging in it too, because it's like, once I stopped doting on her, she became powerful. She was golfing when she gave birth. The only problem was that it threw off her swing. So it is like, it's like, don't dote on her because she'll become weak. But if you don't, my God, you'll have the most powerful wife in the world.
And he's read a book.
The book's title, he says, is Labor for Labor's Sake, which I think we can Google that. That sounds made up. It also sounds like a working class, like, socialist text to me. But yeah, he says that he's read a book and his own wife just had a baby, which I find interesting. I don't know if we ever see Larry Tate's wife on this show, but I would be willing to bet that she is much younger than him, because this man is probably 55, 60 years old, right?
Yeah, I have to admit, I kind of bumped on that when he said his wife just had a baby, and I was like, I would have expect him to say granddaughter as opposed to wife. She wife number 3 or 4?
Yeah,
maybe.
Although it's so hard because people in the 60s, actors in the 60s, often looked way older than they actually were.
Cigarette smoke everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's cool? We haven't said the plot of the episode.
We did.
She did it up top.
Right. Okay. So she's
but we haven't gotten to the good part of the episode.
We haven't gotten to the first. We haven't got past the first. Well, we're in the second scene.
All right. And on that note, let's take a break.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our conversation.
Go quick.
Endora's here. She's in the kitchen and she is lecturing
Darren.
She is lecturing Samantha.
Oh, Samantha. My mistake. Sorry.
Yeah. About how she has royally screwed up by having a kid. She describes finding out that her daughter is having a child as an ugly rumor. and says basically like if you have a kid with him, you're going to be locked into a monogamous relationship for this man's whole life, which based off of their immortal lifespan shouldn't really be that big of a deal. Like whatever, 70 years tops.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. But it is, she's very like countercultural in her critique of this. She'd be like, you're stuck in this like straight-laced, monogamous, like there's sort of like almost like hippie vibes from the way that she's criticizing this.
Yeah, that is interesting. And Endora's the hippie on this.
We talked like a lot in the other episode about like what the witches are like a metaphor for. And I think there is kind of like a countercultural element to them, because I did some digging, and Samantha's father is not in a relationship with Endora. They are like basically a casual hookup. So like witches are non-monogamous. They're in kind of this like loose society. So it is weird that there's also that angle on the criticism of.
Well, and there's that idea that some people read it a little bit coded gay.
They all like they live on the fringe of society. They have a big secret they keep from everybody else. I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. She's very not thrilled, and she's also like, he's going to be awful to you.
Harsh. What harsh things to hear from your mother.
Yeah. She's really a witch when you think about it.
She eventually chills out when she's told she can play with the baby whenever she wants, will have no responsibilities whatsoever, and will not be called grandma. Like she does chill out eventually.
Yes.
But she is still like talking smack on Darren.
And Samantha's like, no, you'll see it, Mom. He is totally supporting me and totally behind me, and he's going to not let me lift a finger. And then, of course, he shows up and is a jerk because Larry Tate told him to be, and the book told him to be.
One last thing about Larry Tate's monologue, by the way, he makes a pretty good case He makes a terrible case. Women used to work in the field, have babies, and then go back to work in the field again, which is an awful case to make, and also points out that, and also neglects to observe that lots of babies died.
Yes.
Yeah.
And lots of women died having babies. Kind of a downer, Larry.
Yeah.
Larry does not come off great in this episode. he's really he's the villain in this episode. For sure.
Yeah, really harkening back, like describing a nightmare of a scenario. Like, remember when you had to do labor immediately before and after giving birth? Doesn't that sound great? And like something you want to emulate?
So Darren walks in, he's overcompensating in the other direction, right in front of Endora, and that does not go over well. And so she curses him, basically. Yeah.
To have the symptoms of pregnancy. Not going all the way out to like give him like the big Arnold Schwarzenegger Jr. bump and everything, but he does have like morning sickness, and he has a backache. He walks a little funny, and it's mostly just hormonal.
Well, and what's funny is it is sort of the male version of what we think pregnancy symptoms are, in that they come on instantly.
Right.
This is a very good episode of Bewitched, in my opinion. I haven't watched all of them, but I watched a few sort of leading up to this as we were sort of looking for it. I think this has got some really great writing. You know, Darren says, I'm doing this for Sam's good. Believe me, I know every ache and pain that she has, and it hurts me more than her. And Endora says, it doesn't yet, but it will. And that's when we know that she has cursed him, and it's so lovely. And so then he wakes up in the morning, and he's got a backache, and he's walking like a waddling, penguin, which again, really only comes in like the 8th or 9th month. So
you will get all of the symptoms of pregnancy, all of them at once. You are going to feel 9 months of pregnancy in 24 hours.
Well, it is a curse.
Yeah,
it is
it's a
it is
strong
witchcraft.
curse. It's a strong curse.
Yes.
So how do we feel about the Darren's pregnancy symptoms? Like overall, like do we feel like they like
Again, as someone who's never been pregnant, I did find that the symptoms that he exhibited felt a little cliched. The emotional reactions to things, the pickles, that kind of stuff. Nevertheless, I think I appreciated more the physical pains and aches and such that Endora put him through more than those other things, which felt, possibly would have written a little bit differently if a woman had written it, perhaps.
Mhm.
Susan, what about you? You're the only one on this thing that's ever had a baby, so.
True. And so they go into a meeting the next day, and Darren's in the meeting with a client and is overly emotional with Larry. But also it's a very, here's the thing. It is too cliche. It is too broad. It is not true that particular thing happens for every woman, but they decide that to lean into the every woman wants to eat odd things, especially pickles, because they're having lunch at this meeting and Darren gets obsessed with everyone's pickle because he's eaten his and is out. So he's extra hungry and all he wants is a pickle. And they have this great scene and it's actually very funny. So I'm willing to forgive it because Dick York is so good at it too.
Yeah.
He's really lovely.
And you have to write what Dick York can play too. Right. You have to write
And they
his
do.
strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will give them credit for that. They do. He's always been my favorite Darren. The Dick Sargent was fine, but I really did prefer Dick York's Darren over the other Darren, who was.
I think the key is that York. I'm gonna keep going, Dan. I think the key is that York he's handsome, but he is funny looking. He's got comedian face, and he makes funny faces. He's kind of a naturally funny looking guy, and he makes it's funny to watch him, his eyes bug out and to watch him make different reactions. Like, I think that's key.
He's a sort of a kinder, nicer, when he gets angry, it's not as angry for me as the Dick Sargent.
As Sargent. Yeah. Last episode, the one that we covered on our show, he did a pretty good job of playing the angriest a man could ever possibly be ever.
Well, he had been turned into a chimp, right?
Yeah.
A monkey.
I mean, I would think that would really bring out the beast in you, as it were.
Let me ask you, did you come up with that joke after we recorded ours and you were like, oh, I got to get that joke in when we do the second part?
That one literally just came out because I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to get another pun in, so I have to be looking for it. But
you will,
yes,
I believe
that was a
you.
nice 3-pointer.
Okay. But the pickle scene was because I watched this episode twice, and
it's very funny.
It's very funny. Where he's asking everybody if he can have their pickle, and nobody wants to give him their pickle, and he's like, "But you're not eating it. Let me have the pickle." And then he gets over emotional. So Larry takes him out, and then he's like, "Why are you being so emotional?" He's like, "I don't know. I just feel," and he's clearly, overly emotional. So Larry says, "You got to go to the doctor." So he goes to the doctor.
That scene between Larry and Darren, that was one of the highlights for me. Because Larry was so perplexed. He has no idea what's happening. Of course, really nor does Darren. And I thought they were both just terrific in that scene.
Yeah.
Dick York's delivery of like being asked if he's crying and going like, what if I am? It's so good.
I know. I mean, cliches definitely let you play with humor a lot. I think for the time, I'm going to give them a little pass on some of this because, again, what they're talking about, the meta of it all, is that a man has to go through pregnancy symptoms. That's what the audience is enjoying. And given, just a few years earlier, Dick Van Dyke and his wife could be loving towards each other, but they couldn't share a bed. And we're not that far from when you couldn't have a woman pregnant on television. And now we've made a man have pregnancy symptoms. Now we're going for cliche jokes, but they're being performed very well. And I'm willing to give it a lot.
And they're also the funniest of the pregnancy symptoms. Other pregnancy symptoms you could have given Darren are like swollen feet and hemorrhoids. And so those aren't, necessarily as good to do.
No.
I mean, imagine Dick York saying, I have swollen feet and hemorrhoids. Imagine his delivery of that. It would have been off the chain.
But at least my periods have stopped. He did not have to use any tampons.
He would have crushed that line.
I'm going to finally answer the question of like, what of these symptoms make sense? Those symptoms exist, but most of those symptoms do not come until much later in the pregnancy, I will say. So the uncomfortableness really for me was in the very last part of last month of the pregnancy. I happened to feel great during my pregnancy. Not everybody feels that way. I had like one moment of feeling sick. They didn't really do the morning sickness.
Yeah. I don't think you could have
that's not fun.
That's not fun. And also, this one I do know. We don't have a toilet flush on TV until the Brady Bunch. So, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, I thought it was All in the Family.
Maybe it is All in the Family. It's not until the 70s.
Yeah.
So we don't have a toilet flush. So you really can't have Darren puking his guts out, which also, again, not fun.
Yeah. So that's probably the most early trimester sort of pregnancy symptom that some women have, not every woman, but that is the one they don't do.
Yeah, he just says he has an upset stomach.
Yeah.
Which gets the point across. It's not a joke, but it gets you to where you need to be.
Yeah. Since it's all very funny, I was very much like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
She's a witch. He's been cursed with these, so they can be whatever Endora wants them to be, right?
I'll give them this. A man in the 60s paid attention to things that happened to his wife while pregnant and then thought, what if that happened to me? Which feels crazy. That feels like something they would not be capable of yet.
Sympathy pains are a real thing. There are reports of men having quote unquote sympathetic pregnancies, feeling cramps and things that their wives are, but that's not funny.
Yeah.
That's not a joke.
All right, but here's one of my favorites. So Darren goes to the doctor. The doctor says, well, everything you're describing, it sounds like you might be pregnant, but that's ridiculous. And that's when Darren is like, oh no.
Yeah, it gets
it.
I've been magicked. And yeah. So the first thing he does once he knows that he's been cursed with pregnancy,
he goes to the bar.
He goes to a bar to have a lot of drinks, I think.
Yeah. Buddy.
And to keep in mind, at this point, he does not think that he is has the symptoms of pregnancy. My man thinks he is preggo. Yeah. He thinks that there is a fetus in him.
Yes. And here's where we get a very extended scene. And now that you're saying it, Martin, I'm like, this is so much time without the two of them.
You do not see Elizabeth Montgomery for a good 2/3 of this episode.
That's right. Yeah.
It's pretty great. Now that I didn't even notice.
This is the Darren show. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so he's at the bar and he's basically visited by 3 dudes.
By 3 spirits.
Yeah. 3 ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he does see the future. He does look into the future.
The first one is a jerk about it. The second one is like, man, this is awesome. You're going to be so famous. And then the third one hits on his mother-in-law.
All right. So the dialogue, again, I'm just going to call this dialogue. Okay. Bartender. You're all right, Mr. Stevens? All right, Joe, I'm going to have a baby. Oh yeah. Congratulations to the wife. Not my wife. Me. You. Yes. I'm going to be a mother. Well, that's great. You're the first man in the world to pull it off. You'll be famous.
Yeah. That bartender is super chill about this. I feel like bartender should have also been like, and you're cut off.
Yeah. No more drinks.
No more for you. You're pregnant. You can't be drinking. But my favorite line of this is the dream sequence where after the bartender says that, Darren envisions himself having a baby, being interviewed by people who are amazed at this man who just had a child. And he says something to the effect of, it's causing a lot of problems. See, as the boy's father, I want him to go into politics. But as his mother, I'm against it. It's hilarious. It's so funny. It's such a...
That is also my favorite line of the episode. It's so good.
And this whole little bit, this whole fantasy bit where he imagines that he will have to go to the hospital and give birth to a baby. And by the way, they show him holding a stuffed animal, not a baby.
Yeah.
But he's like cradling a stuffed animal like a baby. And he's clearly just had the baby. But more importantly, then they also get Elizabeth Montgomery basically pacing the waiting room with all the other guys in her overcoat. So we can hide her actual real pregnancy. And then when they tell her it's a boy, that she hands out cigars. It's such a gender bending episode that I absolutely love that crap.
Yeah, I don't think they missed anything. I think they covered it all in terms of some of the pregnancy tropes. It was really so well done. So well done. But you know who in this episode, I really liked Endora, because a lot of times to me, she was mean to Darren, and I wasn't always there for that. But in this episode, she sees the way he's treating her pregnant daughter, and she's like, I'm not having it. You think this is such a walk in the park? Let me show you exactly what it is that she's going to be dealing with. And I think, and again, I haven't seen too many episodes at this point, but I think in terms of Endora, I think this was one of the best for her character, because she was really, really standing up for her daughter in this one.
Yeah, there's a reason for her to do something to Darren.
Yeah, I mean, she likes messing with Darren, but in this case, there is like a distinct, like, she gets to be in the right for it,
Yeah, things are better because she did this. Like, Darren, it goes back to being a better husband as a result of what she did. Could somebody have just yelled at him? Yes, but it wouldn't have been as funny.
Exactly. This was much more fun this way.
Yeah.
and in fact, Dan's right. Their marriage is better because of it. And like he is now better equipped to take care of his wife for the next 8 months. And that's the conclusion, is him saying, no, honey, I know what you're going through. I know exactly what you're going through, like through gritted teeth. And she's like, I guess you do. All right. And then she's like, how lucky am I? I'm like the only woman ever to like have a husband who knows exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So
and he's real proud of himself. Always a man to pat on. I'm a man in a million.
Yeah. I did so good being pregnant for like 12 hours.
Who's the figure from Greek myth, the oracle that was like both a man and a woman, which made him like incredibly wise?
Janus?
I feel like Darren by season 6 is going to be the ultimate version of that, because he has been a man, a woman, a monkey, a dinosaur, probably a race car driver. He has been every form of human existence. And he is like the ultimate perspective.
I think that's really great, except for the fact, and I will say this was very disturbing at the end of this episode, right before they sort of, wrap it up and reset to we're a happy domestic couple and everything's going to be fine. There's that little like threat of domestic violence. But if that mother of yours ever pulls a stunt like that again, I'm going to use a little magic of my own, make a few teeth disappear. And Samantha says, and no jury will convict you. for punching my mother in the face. What is happening in that line?
Her response should have been, she can hear everything. She's everywhere. Don't talk like that. She will disappear you. She will turn you into a cloud.
She will take your teeth out of your mouth and put them in your brain. Because she can do that.
She will turn you into teeth. That will be the next episode.
My husband, the jaw. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty indefensible. But I'm gonna try anyway.
Go, Marty, no.
Go. Marty, do it.
No.
Marty, we're not on our own podcast. We can't edit out whatever the hell you're about to say.
No. No, the man has had a very strange week. He has been a chimp and pregnant, like, in the past 48 hours. I would probably also have some misplaced anger to go somewhere. I would also probably say something I don't mean. The serious mode here is like the show's entire jokes are about the conflict between your in-laws and your chosen partner, having your parents not approve of the person you want to be with, and having them not like your family either. So no, don't threaten to punch your mother-in-law so hard she loses teeth. But it is an exaggeration of just like lots of people are angry at their in-laws for various reasons. This is the biggest exaggeration of this. Okay, I think I got through that. Okay, I think I got through that. Uncanceled.
You did.
That was pretty well done.
That was well done. And this was the time of To the Moon, Alice. There was a lot of threat of domestic violence on television, but I was surprised after such a woke episode, if you were.
Yeah.
That it ended with such a vitriol from Darren, even though again he has very good. Endora is awful to him throughout this show, and
yes,
yeah.
Oh, you can't tell me that Samantha hasn't also thought about punching her own mother, like.
Well, again, clearly Samantha is like, oh yeah. No, she's awful, and no jury will convict you. I'm like, I beg to differ. Actually, the legal.
I think a lot of juries should convict you. Also, try that defense. Go for it.
She turned me into a monkey, Your Honor.
Go on.
Like metaphorically? No, literally.
They might incarcerate him in a mental ward.
Yeah, she made me feel pregnant.
I thought I was going to be a mother.
Yeah, go for it. Try that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I choose to represent myself in this trial.
Oh my God! All right. Anyway, well, this was so fun. And any last thoughts?
I do want to circle back to one thing at the bar, because the closing of that, Darren is left to go get unpregnanted. And she is hanging out at the bar with a guy that is basically hitting on her. And he is giving like a speech about like, well, my wife is pregnant right now and she's fine. It's not that hard. I'm here drinking. Also hitting on you. And she turns that dude, she gives the pregnant treatment to that guy and definitely doesn't turn that one back. He's just like that now.
That's right.
I do want to clarify something, Dan, because when you said it, I was like, oh, let's make that point. He just naturally is going to get over the symptoms. It's just like a temporary spell. When you say that he's going to go get unpregnanted, there is not a magical abortion happening off screen. I just want to clarify that for everybody.
Yeah, and that is the way I say that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, just want to clarify.
Of course not. No.
We're not going, fetus disappearum and taking care of it that way. No, it's just one of those natural 24-hour pregnancies that you go through.
I I thought Endora cut him some slack. I thought she was like, all right, you've learned your lesson.
No, I watched it twice.
Spell
and
over.
this was because there's no real resolution to it other than Samantha saying, don't worry, honey, it's just symptoms. They'll go away. It's going to go away. And that's pretty much how they wrap it up. And then they go away. I will say again, we talked about Darren patting himself on the back. There is a chance that this could have backfired. This is my final thought. The ultimate resolution is, I have felt your pains and now I am more sympathetic to you. The possible backfire, the Larry Tate version of this story is, well, I was pregnant for 12 hours and it wasn't that big a deal. So what's
I think Endora would have had something to say and or do about it if that had been the case. So fortunately, Darren is not Larry Tate. So I think, but I think you're right. But I think she would have come back and given him some more.
The least charitable version I can do of what he says at the end is like, hey, I've been there. I've experienced what you're going through. So shut up and listen to me. Shut up and do what I say. I have empathized with you. So now it's time to do exactly what I say all the time.
Oh my God. That's crazy. This is crazy. I do want to also point out the other guy at the bar is Gene Blakely. And he's in 8 episodes of Bewitched.
As different characters, or is it just like this one guy? There's just like this one guy in the background every couple of episodes going, oh man, my nipples are really sore. Like,
no, he's in like 4 in season 1, 3 in season 2, and like 1 in season 4. And I just like, and he's like just the guy listening to Darren, like in some of them. I don't know all of them.
Oh, we're talking about the first guy, not the guy who becomes pregnant.
Oh, right. I don't know which one he was.
There's several guys.
There is. No. Yeah, I was looking at this because he's like listed as a series regular and his just title is The Drunk.
He's the guy he's drinking with. He's the guy he's drinking with. Yeah.
And his thing is he sees something from the show and then he like looks at his bottle of liquor and stops drinking it. Like he just does that bit.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was like he's a recurring.
There's a recurring character of just a guy that drinks with Darren.
Yeah.
just as an aside, because I was looking for him and I came across an actor named Dick Wilson, whose character played several characters, one of which was called Drunk. Dick Wilson was, for those of us who remember back in the day, the actor on the commercial for Charmin.
The one
he's the don't squeeze the Charmin guy.
Oh.
No.
Not the bear.
Not the bear.
Not the bear.
No.
Okay.
But that's one of the things I love about looking back over these older shows and looking at some of the credits and actors that character actors like Dick Wilson, who did other things in whether it be other shows or commercials or other things that you know of, but you're like, oh, I didn't know that guy was in that show. You know, like we didn't know Adam West had a role in Bewitched at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So happy I knocked that one out of the.
And his name is Kermit in it.
I'll say this. I think it's interesting that Dick Wilson is just like a background bit part in there, because clearly, by the fact that his name is Dick, he's qualified to play the lead.
Maybe they considered him and then said no, but we'll give you the background.
Yeah, we were looking at him. Like, we needed another Dick.
Later in the show, he's like doing some sabotage stuff. Like he's trying to like injure Dick Sargent, be like, I'm the next Dick in line.
I'm gonna take this one.
Some sandbags are falling from the rafters and barely missing Dick Sargent.
Well, guys, this has been fantastic. I was trying to figure out what we would call it. And I think it might be Bewitched, Mayberry, and BePregnant.
I like that.
So if you enjoyed this episode, go check out us on Breaking Mayberry, where we look at Darren, alias Darren Stevens.
The episode that came right before this episode.
Yeah.
Chronologically.
And season 2, episode 1, and season 2, episode 2 were the ones we decided to do because they kind of fit and kind of neat to look at a female-driven television show from the 1960s.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You've been been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Yeah, we loved it. Thank you for having us on. We'll come back again anytime.
In today's audiography, check out the Breaking Mayberry podcast on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
And you can watch Bewitched for free at internetarchive.org. The link will be in our description. Season 5 through 8, I think, are available for free on Roku.
As always, we hope 80s TV Ladies brings you joy and laughter and lots of fabulous new and old shows to watch, all of which will bring us closer to being amazing ladies of the 21st century.
Have a great summer.